Let's take a look at Charles Finney for just a moment here. Here, the new measures that he put forward were completely consistent with his theology. We may not be consistent today. There are a lot of Lutheran and Reformed churches across America that think that they can have their confessional theology, but a Pentecostal,
Amen.
Arminian
Yep.
kind of worship.
Yep.
Finney was consistent. Finney believed that salvation and conversion and revival were the work of man. And he said, therefore, we have to find measures, in fact, he called them, we have to find excitements sufficient to induce repentance. This sounds very manipulative, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
And these new measures included the following. First, a direct and confrontational form of address, pointing to scandalous members of the community directly.
Oh, man.
That was high popular drama
Oh, boy.
in an age without TV.
Yeah, we have it today. It's called divorce court or something else where
Yeah.
you stick it on television and watch people's troubles play
Exactly.
out. Yeah.
It's voyeuristic. Second, he'd include in these public prayers the names of local clergy who were unsympathetic to his revivals, praying for their souls as if they were unconverted. Third, when Finney came to town, churches suspended all normal services, and in their place, the protracted meeting would occur nightly for a week or more. And then a fourth new measure is perhaps the most noted, the anxious bench that you mentioned, Rod, which is what we call the altar call today, where people come forward at the end of the service, but then they would come up to a bench toward the front of the church if they were, quote-unquote, under conviction, and Finney would preach directly to them. And another measure was advance publicity, sending a team ahead of him. Finney would arrive much as the circus, with a ready-made tent and an audience. You know, eventually, even churches said, well, let's make our churches like these revival meetings. And so churches looked like tents. They looked like theaters. They had a stage now instead of a chancel. Instead of a pulpit, the minister would roam, as Finney started that.
Right.
The pastor would roam back and forth on the stage.
Well, you know, the irony is most of those churches probably had a pretty traditional service on Sunday and then did their revivalist stuff Monday through Friday night. And I think what we've seen happen is, over the last several decades, is the stuff that went on midweek, where there were no prescriptions for it or against it, that's replaced the so-called traditional worship on Sunday. So
And
the
why
secret
not?
stuff we see is just the midweek stuff moved into Sunday.
Why not? If that's where the
God's action.
the emotional excitement is.
Yeah, let's do it on Sunday morning instead of Tuesday night.
And that happens in a lot of churches in more confessional traditions, where they'll say, all right, we'll just have the Sunday night service like this, or we'll just have one service in the morning that is
We do that. You
like
have the
this.
traditional hymnal service, but you put it at 8 a.m. And you say to yourself, what we're looking for is young marrieds. That's our target.
Right.
So you put the traditional service at 8 a.m., and at 10:30/11, you've got something Pentecostal.
Can I make a point just of clarity on the use of Pentecostal or Pentecostalism? Because we need to be a little more accurate or clear on that, because what we mean by Pentecostal or Pentecostalism is usually an emotional fervor or excitement, whereas Pentecostalism actually is a system of doctrine. It includes, obviously, the emotional excitement, and I raise that simply because I've had some people to question, well, what exactly do you guys mean by Pentecostalism? I've heard you make critical statements about Pentecostalism, and that sort of emotionalism is characteristic of those who are Pentecostal.
Right.
But Pentecostalism itself is not just that emotional expressiveness.
Would you say that Dr. Grudem represents that?
Wayne Grudem?
Uh-huh.
He wouldn't be a Pentecostal theologically, except on the point of the spiritual gifts.
Okay.
In which case he would be more charismatic.
Charismatic.
That
Okay.
was historically, that was the difference between
Okay.
Pentecostalism and the charismatic movement.
Okay.
And most evangelicals that claim the gifts, they
Open to
really...
the Spirit speaking and revealing.
Right, that really flows out of the charismatic movement that goes back to about 1960.
Right.
Right.
And it's not
Yeah.
surprising that Pentecostalism is the form of Christianity that has played really well in
Sure,
television.
sure.
No, not at all.
Absolutely.
And when I use the word, I appreciate you saying that, Ken. I'm really talking about a style where it's low on content and high on entertainment.
Well, and I say that because we are at times critical of the theology of Pentecostalism,
Yes.
but we want to be clear that
Right.
the critique that we're offering here is not against Pentecostal doctrine, but against the emotional extremes.
Now
or
many
style.
Reformed and Presbyterian Christians, I'm sure Lutherans have this as well, have adopted the protracted meeting. Only it's the deacons and the elders that meet for protracted periods of time for Monday night and Tuesday night and Wednesday night and Thursday night and Friday night.
To go through Robert's Rules of Order.